As my family finally began to find stability in the United States, tragedy chose to pay us an unwelcome visit. Sadly, my maternal grandmother passed away back home in Nicaragua, but we didn't find out until an hour later. We couldn't afford the extra cost of a landline, a harsh reminder of the sacrifices we were forced to make. I know many people have strong opinions on the notion of an afterlife, and while I don't intend to sway your views, I will share my personal experience with you. I was cleaning the closet adjacent to the front door of the apartment. We had limited closet space, and in my attempt to make room, I tried keeping everything organized. Suddenly, I heard a hard knock on the front door, and within seconds, I opened it. We were not expecting anyone, and I was worried it might be important, because the knock seemed so loud. I opened the door to see who might be knocking, but to my surprise, no one was there. I listened carefully, expecting to hear someone running down the metal stairs of our apartment complex, but no sounds were made. I immediately told my mom, because I didn't understand who would knock at our door and disappear without a trace. What unsettled me most was how quickly everything happened. My mom told me it could have been our neighbors playing a prank on us, and not to think about it anymore. The incident left me with an eerie feeling that I couldn't shake, and it continued to haunt me. An hour later, my mother's friends arrived with the heartbreaking news that her mother had passed away. I was in complete shock, not because I heard a knock an hour before that seemed strange, but because my beloved grandmother was gone. Her loss left a gaping hole in my soul, a sorrow so deep that it seemed to consume every part of me. What hurt the most was that I could no longer run to her side, like I did so many times when I was a child. Now, I would never have that chance again. I have so many fond memories of my grandmother, but what touched me most was how she tried to teach me discipline from a place of love. It was a challenging task, especially with a headstrong kid like me. I will never forget the day she made me pick up every grain of rice I had thrown on the floor in frustration after being told I couldn't go out and play with my friends. She was accustomed to the old traditions in my town, such that when it was lunchtime, everyone had to go home to their families to rest. As I began to scoop the rice into the bowl, she corrected me, saying, "No, not that way. You will pick up every grain, piece by piece, until it's all back in the bowl." I looked at her face, and she seemed very upset. So I did not question her, and did as she said. I was too young at the time to understand the valuable lesson she was teaching me, something that remained with me throughout my entire life. My grandmother was the second most important person in my life, and it was hard for me to accept that she was no longer with us. You always found her cooking in the kitchen, preparing meals for anyone who stopped by to enjoy one of her mouth-watering dishes. Once, my sister complained about the food, prompting my grandmother to say, "You better learn to eat everything, otherwise you will starve in a war." I told myself, "Well, that won't be a problem for me, Grandma. I love all your food." At night, I liked sleeping with her. For some reason, I liked putting my leg over her body. However, she was a 6-foot-tall woman, and being a little sprout, it was hard to get comfortable. Sometimes she would move after she thought I had gone to sleep, but I would try to put my leg up again. I used to say to myself, "This woman has a big butt." It felt like I was climbing a mountain. She was a woman loved by so many for her kind and gentle nature. She was never confrontational. She always preferred to walk away, rather than say something she would regret. Years later, during a conversation with one of my aunts, I learned that my grandmother might have died of a broken heart upon realizing the hardships my mother was facing alone in California. Meanwhile, the rest of her family lived in New York. It wasn't hard to imagine the depth of my grandmother's pain, given the strong bond she had with my mother. Even though we were separated by miles, there had always been a faint hope that we might one day reunite. But her death shattered that hope, forcing us to confront the painful truth: she would no longer be part of our lives.